Today on Brupeg we're building a retractable wall mount for Jess's editing Mac. This is Jess's original editing setup. The pain in her body stopped her being able to use this, so we had to come up with a plan because we couldn't create any episodes as it was. We moved her into the bedroom. We put a temporary stand up and she decided, yep, I'll have that set up against the wall if I can, thanks. So we decided to press on. We came up with our CAD designed hinge. This was version 1. We went through a few design changes, including using a drill and showing Jess some stainless. This was the aluminium hinge setup that we decided to build, with some solid bar and some hollow bar. We had to drill a few random holes. We drilled bigger random holes. We even had the facial expressions to prove it. We enlisted the help of our neighbour. We built a tiny little welding cave and then we got a welder that actually worked. Thanks Malcolm, it was awesome. Once that was done we came back and did some grinding. This is actually all real time. I grind very fast when I need to. Even cut at the same speed, look at that. Ooh. And then obviously just give it a quick clean up. Oh, it's beautiful, look at that. So we're going to give a shot with permanent thread locker into some of these pins, the ones that aren't holding. So a little bit of brake clean, make sure she's nice and tidy. Do that on both. Bang. Alright, we are now ready to go. So, I don't know if this is going to work. It's worth a shot. There's no real pressure in these here, so just has to act like a bit of a glue, I suppose you could think of it as. So I'll put that one in there. Might add a bit more because there's not a lot. I don't ever want to take these out, so. Righto. That's good. We'll let that sit for 5 minutes and then we'll do the other side. Apparently this stuff sets in 5 minutes. So while I wait for that, we'll get started on drilling our stainless. I just unwrapped this 12mm drill and aren't they just a thing of beauty? You look at that and you think, man, that is just going to make someone cry when that breaks. Alright, so we've offset, that way around. So this is that's going up that direction. Do a little one of them. Right. So we've offset these holes slightly. So the top one is there and the bottom one is over here. So 50mm and 25mm, 100mm wide that way. The reason being is that then the bars can sit like that and they don't interfere with each other, and we'll do the offset at the other end the opposite so that they can do that. So we'll bop a center pop in these. Alright, we're ready to start drilling. That little barky dog you can hear over the background. There's a guy doing his boat in the yard at the moment and that little dog is tormenting Mish. They've become arch nemesis, so every time there's a noise from the other dog, Mish races to the back of the boat and peers over the edge just to make sure that there's nothing untoward going on in the yard. Whoop whoop. 4 identical holes. Right, so now that we've got our 2 pivot points sorted out, I need to figure out where I'm going to put the where this is essentially going to bolt to the ribs. So the ribs are 50mm deep, which will be the centre line of that hole. Cool. Alright. Let's use a pen that works. So there's our edge of our rib. Now I don't want to go hard up against the wall because there's a weld on that rib, so it's going to stick out. So I'm going to, doesn't really matter how far out I come from this wall actually when I think about it. So I'm going to do a line that's, we'll call that probably 20mm-ish. God, what a crap pen. Alright, so it's about 18mm. Again, it doesn't matter where I put these holes. So we're going to be using M8. So we'll knock a hole in there. And we'll knock one down this end. Alright, let's drill those out. They're going to be a clearance hole. So there's 4 bolts there. They're going to be a clearance hole, and then it's going to be tapped into the boat.
I've been going through changes, rough and dark as night. Though life rearranges, I'll be alright.
So the red Loctite seam, the permanent Loctite seam's pretty robust. It's only been in there for, I don't know, 10-15 minutes tops. Seems to be already holding it pretty well. So flip it over and we'll do this last one. And then we'll get into making this pretty. So we've got our 4 holes drilled, so it sits on the wall like that. So bottom hole, top hole, and then these 2 here, these are our pivot points, and then these 2 smaller holes are bolting to the ribs on the front of the cabin. What I'm going to do now is round off the edges and make them all sort of clean and tidy and basically pretty it up as much as I can. So I've got some what I call fine flap wheels, of 60 grit, so they're not super fine, but they're enough to get a really beautiful finish. I normally use 40 grit for everything. Couldn't get 40 grit this time, so I ended up buying 60 grit. So we'll give them a shot and see how they clean it up. So this is what's been happening the last few weeks. This little guy here scampers over and has been tormenting Mish. He pees on pallets. Yeah, you've been spotted, buddy. God, he's cute. He pees on pallets, and then Mish comes down afterwards and he knows something's happened, but he doesn't know what. He gets so frustrated with this little guy. So, give this a shot. It's pretty clean. Pretty clean's going to have to be good enough for now. Right, that's a big wallop. That's awesome. Okay, not enough. I'm kind of putting enough in so that when I push this right down to the bottom, it squeezes up the top, because then I know I've basically covered everything in a massive layer. There we go, it's getting close. Ah, there we go. Perfect. Give it a spin. Yeah. Probably shouldn't have pulled that out, but okay, just try and get as much air out of it as I can. Right, leave that for a while. So I can't find my mask anywhere, so I'm having to wear Jess's, and it's just a bit too tight. Racing against the light a little bit here, so I think I'll go upstairs, grab a work light and set myself up there for the evening. I was just about to head upstairs and I saw this. big old moon, nice and bright, not quite a full moon but not far from it. I've set my work light up now, so it's quite nice being able to work when you can see what you're doing. So I've set the workbench up, I've tidied it off, and I've got my 2 stainless plates. I'm going to start assembling the hinges and see if they actually work. Theoretically this should slot in easy. Like that. Same again. Come on, you can do it. Oh yeah. Right. There's our swinging hinge position. So let's go and get the other one. Put the thing together. Okay. So that's the top. Had them around that way. Okay. 1, 2. Yeah, 1, 3, 4. Alright. Gosh, that doesn't look quite right. Why is that sitting funny? Something's bent. Why is it not going all the way in? At least it's equal all the way through the treble. That's what's going on. Okay. Alright, so I'm going to start building the plate that goes up the top here. I couldn't do that until I'd made all of this because I didn't really know what my measurements were going to be, because I was sort of winging it, the design halfway through to figure out, you know, what layout was actually going to work and all that sort of stuff. So now that I've got this basic layout done, I can build this plate. I've got some 3mm stainless that I'm going to build out of. It doesn't have to be anything real heavy, so 3mm will be plenty. The hinges are 6, so I wanted them a bit thicker than normal just so that it was really solid. But with 3mm on this top end, I'm pretty happy with that. I was going to use stainless. I'm going to build the plate that goes basically the Mac bolts to this plate here, and I was going to use stainless, but I can't find the piece I was going to use. I had 3 bits that we were going to use for one of our side vents I bought 2 years ago and haven't actually made the side vent for. However, I have got a piece of alloy. This is 4mm alloy, so it's fairly light. So I need to weld 4 little tags on, so I've drawn them up onto the alloy here. It's going to be a bit of a mission to cut these out, but I'm thinking I'll just do it with a 5-inch grinder and a cut-off disc, just because then I can be sort of really precise with what I'm cutting and so on. So we'll see how good that works out.
I set myself aside on this drive. If you don't know the way, we can start to make a change. I know we walk for days, losing hope, fading love. This night will be okay, waking up to another day. set myself aside. Lead the way on this trial. If you don't know the way, we can stop and make a change. I know we walk for days, losing hope, fading love. This night will be okay. Waking up to
So I've got my little tag on the side here. I'm going to run a bead of weld just down here, so it basically fastens this plate to the tag. I don't have a lot of faith in my spool gun at the second. It's playing up a little bit. Me and Malcolm were mucking around with it a few days back to try and figure out what's actually going on with it. Probably going to have to take it back in and just get them to show me if there's anything going on with the gun, or if it's me. I actually think it's the plug that it plugs onto at the end, but we're not going to know until we actually set it up and try. That's quite cold. It's not really what I was after. Pump the heat up a bit. So you can see that weld, it's just sort of sitting on top. It's quite cold. So I'll whack the heat up, see if we can get a bit more penetration on the other side. Hey, so my welder is not welding alloy at all, and I need it to weld alloy to be able to do this thing. And it's not really welding stainless very good at the moment either. I had to do a bit of stainless and it's doing a bit of shit on that as well. Yeah, I'm just thinking it's probably best me spending the next 2 hours actually solving the welder than trying to weld this, because I can't get anything to hold together. Alright, I'll give them a call down. That's why I just wanted to let you know that I'm talking priorities. I might do, yeah. I think I'll go in because I don't think they'll be able to do anything with it out here. Yeah. Alright, I'll let you know how I go. I'll give them a call anyway. Thanks, bye. Yeah, g'day. I bought a Unimig welder off you guys a few weeks back. And it's welding really crap. We can't actually get the settings to make any difference on the weld at all. There's just no heat coming through it at all, and I'm not sure what's going on. I'm wondering if I can bring it in and set it up and see if we can replicate the problem, and you guys can see if it's something obvious or not. Cool. Have you got the... Yeah, so it's we've got it set up with a spool gun, and we're finding, yeah, with the spool gun we just can't get any heat out of it. Do you need me to bring in my argon, or have you got argon there and the ability to weld, etc.? Alright, cool. So I just need to bring the welder and the gun in and we should be good. Alright, awesome, sweet. I'll head in now. Thanks, mate. Cheers. See ya. So I was starting to give up and lose faith with this welder, and I was kind of wondering, is it me or is it the welder that's just not able to get a decent bead happening with this aluminium and all that sort of jazz. So I thought I'll take the whole welder, I'll take all the gear that we're using. I took it back into the shop that I brought it from and said I need to figure out, is it me or is it the welder that's not working properly here. So me and one of the guys in there, Michael, we spent a bit of time, we were mucking around with the welder, and oh my god, I'm going to show you this. Look at that. So no prep or anything, but just basically blasting a weld in, and sits really nice, really happy with it. If I prepped it, I probably would have got a bit better fusion around the edges and stuff, and it's probably a little bit hot for the material that I'm welding, but yeah, that's just so much better than what I was getting. I'll show you what the problem was. On the machine you've got a negative port and a positive port, and you flip them over depending on what you're doing. Flux core has obviously a different polarity than say aluminium or stainless, something like that. On the inside of the door it had DC EP, and I read that as DC earth positive. So I had my earth and I had these two flipped around, and I was getting absolute garbage welds, and I couldn't figure out why. No matter what I did, it never seemed to improve. We flicked those around. As soon as we clarified that DC EP means DC electrode positive, not earth positive, flicked those around, Machine's awesome. What I'm going to do is go through and set up my height, which is precisely 5 cutting discs. Set my little plate of stuff on there. Okay, so I'm probably going a bit hot. Need to back that off a little bit. Cool. 1. Let's go and figure the next guy out. Right, the whole thing's clamped up against the beam. This is it working in its arc, so that's roughly the angle that it's going to be bolted to on the cabin, and then this is pretty much parallel, so the computer's going to be bolted to this face here, and as it comes down, holds it parallel the whole way, and you can choose your height, whatever you want it to be. It does get a little bit sort of cocked back on itself when you get really low, but I don't think we're going to be going that low with it either. So what I've got to do is stop it from being able to drop, like essentially put a safety on it. My mate Trevor came over from the marina earlier today, and he had a bloody brilliant idea. Why not use a spring and a piece of wire in combo, so the spring basically makes the whole thing weightless, and the wire essentially acts as the safety combo from stop it from being able to crash down. So this little piece of Spectra is taking the place of the wire at the second. Right, so that physically can't fall down. So up position, down position, that goes tight, can't fall any further. So what I want to do now is try and take some of the weight, because obviously this screen that's hanging off the end here is a 27-inch iMac, so it's quite heavy. So I don't know, it's probably a bit of a guesstimate, maybe 8 kgs, 5 to 8 kgs, something like that. Probably for now I'm just going to use bungee, and I will eventually upgrade this to either like a metal spring, stainless spring, something like that, or like a gas strut. I do like the idea of a metal spring because they don't break, you know, whereas a gas strut wears out after a while. I've had them sort of just die, so a fair few of them actually, so I do quite like the idea of a spring. That does take a fair bit of weight out of it. Hey, we're getting there. I did some Googling. The display weighs 9.88 kg, so 10 kg call it. That's a 5 kg roll of welding wire. So I still need a bit more oomph. So let's do 2. Cool, my safety's working. Sweet. Let's do 2 layers of this stuff. I need some more brain power. Time for Jess. Need some brain power.
Oh, darling. Wow.
Trick away.
Wow. Wow, that is incredible.
I was trying to figure out the weighting, like, because I want it weightless, so I'm trying to figure out how to do that quick.
Yeah, right, that last little stretch is a bit.
Yeah. I'm wondering about gas struts.
Yeah. Like it's too tight, isn't it?
Yeah.
Wow.
Go away.
That is really impressive. Video
I
on
need
it.
to clean it and acid
Yeah.
bath it and all that sort of
Yeah.
jazz, but yeah, that's bit. I need to trim some of these off as well.
Yeah. Wow.
Go away.
That is very cool.
Give these a bit of a polish up and clean up.
You're really clever.
Yeah, it works quite well, I think.
I can tell you're happy with it.
Happier than I thought I was going to be.
Yeah, yeah.
I was thinking, wasn't quite square, and it was really hard because none of it's built on a proper bench, so it's really hard to get it perfectly square.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
there was a wee bit of a twist, like that way. This one here and that one there weren't perfectly parallel. So these are the little stainless cheeks that that go on either side of the hinge, and just give them a bit of a wipe. They bolt into here and here, so I just need to drill and tap some holes so that I can put one of these bolts here through like that. And it should screw into there. So like that.
So really simple.
Super simple,
Design, isn't it?
Yeah, real simple.
Or this part of it anyway.
It basically relies on the integrity of the cabin to hold it all together. So yeah, these won't move, and because they won't move, it means that the hinge can't fall apart. So and that way I don't have to make a big brace or anything like that. Keeps it really basic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. And this is so I can lie down and edit, because I'm editing for 2, 3, sometimes even 4 days a week, and
Yeah.
with my condition I can't stay upright, so
Yeah.
I've got to lie down now. It means that I sort of can last longer and I can do more if I sort of manage my body's needs.
Yeah. So this is the front wall of Brupeg's cabin. This is the centre line of Brupeg, this wall here, and then this is the very front of the cabin. And on the other side of this is the forward deck where the anchor winch and things like that is.
Yeah.
And this, I'm sitting on our bed, so Jess can basically lay down, and when it's not used, the screen is up the top, and when it is used, it comes down and it is at the right distance.
It's quite nice because to edit I'll be shut away in a quiet room. It's
Yeah.
sort of out of the way.
Yeah.
It's not ideal. We'd love a little editing booth or something like that. We're pondering that, but just for now.
Yeah.
The sound is much easier to manage when you're editing, and if you're in a really sort of quiet place, sort of a deadened sound place, which this will be. It'll be fully insulated soon. So.
I need to figure out how to do this, because I need to get it perfectly level, or else it'll go up and it'll be on an angle up here, or it'll be on an angle down here, or whatever. That part's straightforward. But I need to figure, am I getting this level, or am I getting the hinge at this end level? I think it's going to have to be the hinge at this end level, because they're not perfect, because they weren't built on a perfectly flat bench, etc. But I'm wondering, can I adjust it with the mounting of the Mac onto the hinge? I think I'll just get this bit square. I think I'll just get this bit here square, and then I'll adjust the Mac to suit whatever twist or whatever I need to accommodate. Do it that way. I think it's going to be the easiest. Otherwise, it's just going to be hours of brain thinking things and not achieving anything. So the length isn't quite right. I need to basically trim a little bit off. I put a TV in here not that long ago, and did it all square and everything like that, and then sat back and looked at it, and it looked completely wrong on the wall. And then I realised that this cabin has a slope the same as what the deck has, so it curves off down there. It's a bit hard to see until you actually start putting stuff level and square and all that sort of jazz, and these are all on slight angles, so it kind of makes getting things right a bit of a challenge, because you kind of have to decide what you're going to do. Okay, so we do it square, but then everything else is off, and you have to then make everything else out of square. I think that's the right way to approach it, but it's the first time you do it, you're like, this doesn't feel right. Right, you can go in there. I'm looking forward to getting this done, because once we've done this, we're on to rudder. That thing's only been like a year in the making. It works. So it sits about there when it's like finished, operational, etc. And then it'll clip in up there when it's done. Angle and everything, there'll be a spring in there as well, and that'll spring load it up like that. So by default it tries to go up until you pull it down and basically lock it. This is the Mac that Jess uses to edit on. It's a 27-inch screen diagonally, and on the back of it, have a look at the back edge here, you can sort of see they're like pretty slim and elegant like mounting system. They actually, it's internal, so you got to, in order to change that mount, you actually have to pull the whole screen off and pull it apart, because you know generally you don't change these mounts. But what we need to do is actually cut that off completely. We're going to use, see from that hole, basically we're going to cut it off at the top of that hole there, and then bolt the original mount onto my aluminium mount. So the people at the Mac shop are going to scream at me when I take it in to get a clean out every now and again. But yeah, that's what we have to do on this boat. So it's going to mount about there. Now, this is the wrong angle for this aluminium piece on the back of the Mac. So I have to do some sort of wedge arrangement. So what I'm going to do is basically cut this slot out here, and then cut across the back and bend that forward, weld the back up, and then weld in some sides and chamfer it all in so it all looks lovely. So I'm basically going to kink this out like that, and it's going to allow this mount with no modification that's on the Apple, the standard mount, which also means that if we ever have to replace the computer, we don't have to muck around with it, we can just use the mount that's on it. So what I'm going to do is chop that down. I'll drill and tap this mount because it's quite thick, and then I'll bolt from the back and thread it into the Apple stand, and that I think will do nicely. I'll then probably cut something in here for the cords, and then yeah, feed everything through. That'll keep everything central. I can also put some conduit around it then as well. So alright, we'll pull it apart again and we'll get that built. Right, so my angle is precisely between the flat on there and the one going out there. It's halfway, that's where I want to set it. So that's maximum swing that way with the screen, and that is pretty much maximum the other way, if that makes sense. So it's pretty close. I've got a little bit more to go. Fine-tuning adjustment. Pretty sure this is how Apple do it when they're designing a new one anyway. That'll do. Happy with that. So I've pretty much just cut a couple of lines, as you just saw. They're on a slight angle. You can kind of see it if you look down on it like that. You can kind of see the angle. What I'm going to do now is essentially fill up these gaps with some aluminium and weld them in on a nice angle so that they look like they were always supposed to be there. But to do that, I'm going to have to trim off on an angle like that, and then I'll fill that flat in like so on both sides. So this will come along, come up on a 45, go along, down on a 45, and then off like that. And then once I've finished all of that, I'll flip it over, and on the underside of this joint here I'll basically run a bead along where that cut is that I just put in the metal. Alright, so that's one. So I'll cut that out and then I can tack that in. I'll do the other side, do exactly the same, basically create a duplicate over here somewhere, put it in there, and then we'll tack this whole thing together. Putting that in like that, filling obviously that gap up there and this edge here, and then giving it a nice, you know, round over with a flapper wheel and everything. So I'll do that on both sides, and then it's a wee bit long, so I'll just trim that off, and then I can sort of get a nice smooth top running over the whole thing. I'll be able to flap a lot of this back and give it a really good clean up. So I'll go through now with the stainless buff wheel. So this is my stainless buff wheel. I'll go through now and clean up all of this alloy, get it ready to weld, throw a bit of acid wash on it, and then we'll blast and weld on these things now that my machine is welding absolutely beautifully. Alright, so it's cleaned up. I'm happy with that. Are these welds structural quality? Hell no. But they're absolutely going to be fine for holding this screen mount. There's enough aluminium just literally thrown into that weld that it should be fine. It may seem like it's not an absolute critical thing to get the boat in the water, but I've got to do a lot of aluminium welding soon, and I basically need practice. So for me, building little knickknacks like this is all about learning how to weld properly, so that when I start doing structural stuff, it's not going to fall apart. It should be okay.
Yeah. Wow, that looks incredible. But dusty.
Been meaning to get one for ages, but I bought one today.
What is it?
It's called a deburrer. So it's just like a little sort of curved hook that's sharp, and you can go around edges.
Oh, nice.
Clean them up really beautifully.
Yeah, I never get a real close up.
In a nanosecond.
Whoa! Wow.
So
That is cool.
no sharp edges now, it's really rounded off. I'll do the other side. So that's, at the moment, is really sharp. So you don't even need a lot of pressure. Oh, fucking bollocks. Don't need a lot of pressure to ruin the surface.
Oh, isn't that always the way?
Probably
Can I
better.
look at the little gadget up close? So
It's just a hardened steel blade, and it can free spin around, but it means you can just go like around a hole and it'll drag all the way around the hole and have the right angle.
Quite a heavy computer.
Yeah, 10 kg. The screen and everything, you know. Lovely. The cord goes through there. So I'm going to put all the cords through there. Keep it nice and neat.
We cut? Can we cut?
Yeah.
Cut!
Right. I'm going to rip some of it. There's speakers on the underside I've got to cover up too.
Yeah.
Right, hang on a sec.
Bloody hell, that was quite close to the computer. Do not try this at home. Oh, lovely. It's funny when you don't have the same rules as you're taught to have, you know, like you don't cut up a Mac, you know. Stand.
Don't chop your computer with a skill saw.
Yeah. What you're supposed to do is the right thing.
Yeah.
If you don't think like that, if you think of what's possible, you know.
Yeah.
If you didn't think like that, I wouldn't be able to continue editing.
No, that's true.
Isn't it incredible if you think in those terms?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. It would just be a hard stop. There's no
would.
solution.
Yeah, I'd have to give up.
Yeah. Just lining that up. Cool.
Yeah,
Alright,
that's
so
wonderful.
not sure, I have to have a look, but I think they're M5, but basically just hex nuts. And I'm gonna drill all the way through and then tap this side here. Yeah, basically bolt from the back into the front, and I'll have a big washer like that. And what I'm thinking of doing is I'll do one that's the right size and everything, and then I'll do two that are, I don't know, if this is say 6mm for, I've got no idea, if this is 6mm, I'll do an 8mm hole so that it's sloppy. I'll do one that's 6mm and then two that are 8mm, because then I can adjust the angles and everything. Needed to get through.
I'm gonna get up for the job, darling.
Thanks, honey.
It's really incredible, actually.
So right now you can sort of see there's one bolt in there. If I go underneath, you can see it comes all the way through. It's basically threaded into the original Mac stand. Alright, I'm going to go and wash this in acid, clean it up really nice, and then we'll go and put it in for the last time. Okay. Take
Wow.
a bit of jiggling to get it in.
Do you want me to do the bolting?
Can you do that, and I'll hold this. This is quite heavy. You should be able to just screw it in my hand for now. Spin it. Okay.
It's not very far in.
No, it's okay.
No, it's going to fall out. No.
Oh.
Do you not need it a bit more?
Oh, can you get it in more?
Yeah.
Sorry, I thought that.
It's a bit better.
Yeah, cool. Let's throw these others in here.
Wow. That is incredible. Oh, I've got to show you this. It's amazing.
Okay.
Nice.
Tight.
Excellent.
Oh, you fucker.
Oh no! We didn't measure the
I didn't measure how high it goes.
Oh no.
That's quite...
Can you go up again?
So I had this bracket sitting up on the wall last night, and I was sort of pondering how it was built and was I happy with it and all that sort of stuff, and I came up with a few changes that I wanted to make. So I added some little tags. So on the back end of it here you can see there's a couple of tags here, and there's also, I made some changes over here as well. There's a tag there, I'm not sure if you can see that easy enough. I also altered the front, so where the Mac used, this bracket here used to be up the top, and the Mac used to bolt onto the top. But what that did was it pushed the entire screen too far up, so when we swung it up it was getting close to the roof and it was about to hit it. I couldn't put it all the way back. So what I've done is, and also the bottom of this plate was sticking out below the Mac, which I didn't want that. So I cut the whole thing off, moved it down. I lengthened these, so that was the original length there, and I added in this piece here. So we've pretty much doubled the length. So side on is a big sort of angle there, if that makes sense. And the reason I've done that is because in order to adjust the screen that way, we had it hard over like that, which was actually vertical pretty much. So it could go really far that way and vertical, whereas now I've got it sort of half and half, so you can do both directions with it by angling that better. So that change and these little tags are for a thing that I'm pretty pleased with. So I had a spring in there. I had a piece of Spectra rope as a safety stop, so if it all came apart it wouldn't crash down and chop your legs. And then I also had it spring loaded, so it was effectively weightless because of the spring. Okay, this is a linear actuator, so basically think of it like an electric hydraulic ram, sorry. So this is going to be my new up and down mechanism. So push of a button, it'll go up, push another button and it'll come down. So let's get this installed and see what she's actually like.
Oh, that's awesome.
Cool, eh? So there'll be you don't actually need any safeties or any of that sort of stuff, because it can't physically pull the ram apart.
Right,
you know?
cool.
And also the way that this works, a little electric motor that spins some gears which spin like a thread, if that makes sense. A bolt spins and the thread goes in and out. So if the power fails, it doesn't go crash or anything, it just stays where it does exactly what this is doing, it stays where it is. So it's a really safe way of doing it as well. And it's only powered when you're moving it, so there's no residual power just hanging around or anything like that.
Yeah. Cool.
So in Brupeg, we have a couple of ways that we simplify things. So this is the spare cabin up the front. So this is the guest cabin up on the front of Brupeg, one of the two cabins up the front. We have a 30 amp 12 volt feeder that basically converts our 24 volt house bank. We convert it down to 12 volt. There's a 30 amp DC-DC converter, and then we have a 6mm squared positive and negative twin sheath cable that brings power all the way forward. Now that's fused at the battery end, bringing it all the way forward to here, and we've got a positive and a negative into this Blue Seas fuse box. And then what this allows us to do is split off different runs to different loads and so on. I know that it's fused at 30 amp fuse at the battery end, and then down here I can put individual fuses, and then normally these are very low load type circuits and things like that, so it's like LED lights, might be USB charging points, things like that. So most of these fuses in here are maybe 5 amp at most. So that's what I'm bringing this linear actuator in. I have to read the specs, but I think that's probably going to be about a 10 amp fuse tops. It's a pretty small motor, little 12 volt motor. It's pretty small, so I don't think it's going to have a lot of juice going into it. I've used 3mm twin core twin sheath cable, so we'll get that in now. I'll wire this up and then we'll go and fit a switch at the other end, and we should be able to see that thing moving up and down on its own power. That guy can come down there.
Oh, there? You probably don't like me. Mushroom soup.
It smells good.
Yeah.
Jess is a fucking good cook sometimes.
to finish early today.
Yeah. Put a fuse in it. In case you're wondering, this switch is a temporary placement. This is going to have a panel over it that we can easily access it, but for now this switch is just basically a household switch that we're using to switch 12 volt charging ports and lights on and off in this room. But eventually there's going to be a cupboard sort of built in here so that the bunks have like a little cubby hole for all their, you know, cell phone, iPad, whatever it might be, and the switch is actually going to be on the side of that. Right, that's on. Let's get that going on. You're done. You're done. Right, we should have some power in that room. So it's all in there, bolted up and so on. I adjusted the angle of the bracket at the back so that we could get more range. However, the tension setting of the factory Apple stand, if I let go, does that. So we have to come up with something. There must be like a tension bolt or I don't know, something inside, I'm guessing, that determines how much, how hard it is to move it up and down. Luckily it's going into the shop next week to get a hard drive swapped out in it, so I'll get them at the same time just to tighten that up so it's a wee bit stiffer. But it is all sitting there. We just have to fix that. Can I show you the up and down?
Yeah. Oh my god.
It's a wee bit noisier than I was hoping.
Is that straining or is that just the sound of it?
It's just the sound of the unit.
Oh my god, it's amazing. Oh my god. Wow.
And it's a bit curved at the moment, but obviously it'll do that. I'm thinking I might get a slightly different linear actuator. Sorry, linear actuator is the little gadget that does the lifting up and down. I might get a slightly different one, slightly shorter, because it'll tip it further back.
Yeah, right.
But for now that'll be alright.
Wow. And down? Lights down better than up, doesn't it? Wow. It is incredible.
Isn't that cool?
It's so amazing. Oh my god.
I'm pretty stoked with how that worked out.
Yeah. It's incredible.
I might put some rubber bushings actually. It's probably just vibrations that you're hearing a lot about. I might put some rubber bushings in it. That'll probably stop that.
Yeah, but it's fine power wise, eh?
Yeah, it's like not even remotely loading it up.
Oh, that's incredible.
Yeah. How's it feel having the bracket go up and down?
It's so hard to describe that. It's so amazing. It makes my editing possible for the future.
Yeah, what does it mean to you, I suppose, not having this versus having it?
Yeah, I suppose it's hard to understand, you know. I can't sit up without my legs up. It's amazing. I just feel like I can just do what I want to do now. I feel like we can keep going. It's just incredible. It's a monster of a thing. It's really, really big and bushy looking and just gorgeous. Thank you, darling.
Overall, I'm really chuffed with how that worked out. I wasn't planning on putting the linear actuator in there, but I remembered I had an old one just lying there. I thought, hey, why not? You know, rather than using springs and wires and all that sort of stuff. It makes it super easy. I wasn't 100% sure how I was going to do lifting up and down for Jess without it. But yeah, putting it on was actually the simplest possible way I could have made it actually work the way it needs to. So really stoked with how it's turned out. And yeah, I think with a few improvements it's probably going to get better. Some rubber bushes maybe, a new actuator so that it's not so noisy. But yeah, other than that, really happy with it. Check out Brupeg. I'll click there too if you want to get on board. And new video now. Pow!